Euzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve lütfen min lisani yefkahu kavli. Selamünaleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Inshallah we will continue from the first word. Last week we started with the first word, and inshallah we will continue with the same. Since it's a short word, inshallah we will read it from beginning to end again, and then maybe we can continue from the parts that we haven't covered last week. So who wants to read? Since I think Abdurrahman is ready, so if you don't mind, if you giving him the microphone, yeah, it's on. You can start reading the first word, inshallah. If you like, of course, if you volunteer.
The whole thing, or
Yeah, just the first word. Yeah, it's just a few pages. The whole thing.
few pages? Okay, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. And from him do we seek help. All praise be to God, the sustainer of all the worlds. And blessings and peace be upon our Master Muhammad and on all his family and companions. Brother, you wanted a few words of advice from me, so listen to a few truths included in 8 short stories, which, since you are a soldier, are in the form of comparisons of a military nature. I consider my own soul to need advice more than anyone. And at one time I addressed my soul at some length with 8 words inspired by 8 verses of the Quran, from which I had benefited. Now I shall address my soul with these same words, but briefly and in the language of ordinary people. Whoever wishes may listen together with me.
Oh, sorry for interruption, but maybe just a little bit background. The first part, when he says, brother, you wanted a few words of advice, and then he says, since you are a soldier. So this is like a communication between Ustad, Imam Nursi, and one of his students. So he asks for advice, and this is the background story of first 8 words.
Oh.
And the person he's asking the guidance, I think is a soldier. Hence, he's writing in some of the words, giving some examples about the soldiers, military, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's nothing important, but if you wonder why he's talking about the soldier and so on.
I used to think it was a made-up scenario that he would just.
Oh, I see. That's at least what I know. I might be wrong, but yeah.
It does add context to it.
The first word, Bismillah, in the name of God, is the start of all things good. We too shall start with it. Know, O my soul, just as this blessed phrase is a mark of Islam, so too it is constantly recited by all beings through their tongues of disposition. If you want to know what an inexhaustible strength, what an unending source of bounty is Bismillah, listen to the following story, which is in the form of a comparison. It goes like this. Someone who makes a journey through the deserts of Arabia has to travel in the name of a tribal chief and enter under his protection, for in this way he may be saved from the assaults of bandits and secure his needs. On his own, he will perish in the face of innumerable enemies and needs. And so 2 men went on such a journey and entered the desert. One of them was modest and humble, the other proud and conceited. The humble man assumed the name of a tribal chief, while the proud man did not. The first traveled safely wherever he went. If he encountered bandits, he said, I am traveling in the name of such and such tribal leader, and they did not molest him. If he came to some tents, he was treated respectfully due to the name. But the proud man suffered indescribable calamities throughout his journey. He both trembled before everything and begged from everything, He was abased and became an object of scorn. My proud soul, you are the traveler, and this world is a desert. Your impotence and poverty have no limit, and your enemies and needs are endless. Since it is thus, take the name of the pre-eternal ruler and post-eternal Lord of the desert, and be saved from begging before the whole universe, and trembling before every event. Yes, this phrase is a treasury so blessed that your infinite impotence and poverty bind you to an infinite power and mercy. It makes your impotence and poverty a most acceptable intercessor at the court of one all-powerful and compassionate. The person who acts saying, "In the name of God," resembles someone who enrolls in the army. He acts in the name of the government. He has fear of no one. He speaks, performs every matter, and withstands everything in the name of the law and the name of the government. At the beginning, we said that all beings say, "In the name of God," through the tongue of disposition. Is that so? Indeed, it is so. If you were to see that a single person had come and had driven all the inhabitants of a town to a place by force and compelled them to work, you would be certain that he had not acted in his own name and through his own power, but was a soldier, acting in the name of the government and relying on the power of the king. In the same way, all things act in the name of Almighty God, for minute things like seeds and grains bear huge trees on their heads. They raise loaves like mountains. That means all trees say, "In the name of God," fill their hands from the treasury of mercy and offer them to us. All gardens say, "In the name of God," and become cauldrons from the kitchen of divine power in which are cooked numerous varieties of different foods. All blessed animals like cows, camels, sheep, and goats say, "In the name of God," and produce springs of milk from the abundance of mercy, offering us a most delicate and pure food like the water of life in the name of the provider. The roots and rootlets, soft as silk, of plants, trees, and grasses say, "In the name of God," and pierce and pass through hard rock and earth. Mentioning the name of God, the name of the Most Merciful, everything becomes subjected to them. The roots spreading through hard rock and earth and producing fruits as easily as the branches spread through the air and produce fruits. And the delicate green leaves retaining their moisture for months in the face of extreme heat, deal a slap in the mouths of naturalists, and jab a finger in their blind eyes, saying, "Even heat and hardness, in which you most trust, are under a command. For like the staff of Moses, each of those silken rootlets conform to the command of, and we said, O Moses, strike the rock with your staff and split the rock." And the delicate leaves, fine as cigarette paper, recite the verse, "O fire, be coolness and peace against the heat of the fire, each like the members of Abraham, upon whom be peace." Since all things say, "In the name of God," and bearing God's bounties in the name of God, God's bounties in God's name, give them to us, we too should say, "In the name of God." We should give in the name of God and take in the name of God. And we should not take from heedless people who neglect to give in God's name. Question. We give a price to people who are like tray bearers. So what price does God want? Who is the true owner? The answer. Yes, the price the true bestower of bounties wants in return for those valuable bounties and goods is three things. One is remembrance, another is thanks, and the other is reflection. Saying "In the name of God" at the start is remembrance, and "All praise be to God" at the end is thanks. And perceiving and thinking of those bounties, which are priceless wonders of art, being miracles of power of the unique and eternally besought one, and gifts of his mercy, is reflection. However foolish it is to kiss the foot of a lowly man who conveys to you the precious gift of a king, and not to recognize the gift's owner, it is 1,000 times more foolish to praise and love the apparent source of bounties and forget the true bestower of bounties. O my soul, if you do not wish to be foolish in that way, give in God's name, take in God's name, begin in God's name, and act in God's name, and that's the matter in a nutshell.
Jazakallah. Would you like to moderate as well? I can take care of the logistics. If you volunteer. I mean, I'm just asking.
What does a moderator do? Just listen to others?
Just listen to others, ask questions to others, share your thoughts, usual stuff. Your wife is smiling. Probably she wants the moderation. She thinks she deserves.
Why are you asking me while I'm sitting?
I guess I can moderate.
Oh yeah, Jazakallah. Okay. Now I can, just sit
So
and
I can ask you questions.
sleep and.
Oh, I don't get the laptop though? You keep the laptop?
Do you want laptop?
I feel like it's a show of power.
Oh, sure. If you want.
I needed to have power.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers.
Alaikum assalam.
Good, I think parity there. Assalamu alaikum. Go ahead, please.
Walaikum assalam. Okay, inshallah. I guess I'll be moderating. Where did we end off last time? Was there a spot we ended?
No. I guess last week we studied in general, like from beginning to end. We discussed the parts that stayed with us. We spent some time on natural laws and so on, because the examples about the leaves.
Okay.
And
so we didn't actually.
Yeah, and we also talk about the needs, how needs are sustained. That's what we discussed, but it was all in general.
Yeah.
So if you want to go like a part by part, you can. It's your choice now.
Yeah, I think it's valuable to just go paragraph by paragraph or part by part, because I think each one is hitting a different topic. I do think just before we even start that, like he says, these are inspired by 8 different verses. So, he's not, in some ways, I guess he's not just making this up, or he hasn't just sat down and thought about, okay, this is what truth is, and this is how I can find truth. But he was inspired by a verse which guided him to come to these conclusions, or to come up with this parable, or these parables, talk about Bismillah. So I think maybe keeping that in the back of our minds as we read, and thinking about maybe other verses that we've read, it can help seeing like how the Quran speaks to us. So just from the first paragraph, I think it's very interesting that it just starts off with Bismillah, in the name of God, is the start of all things good. We too shall start with it. I mean, it's a very strong, I guess, statement, Atiq, if you would agree. Is Bismillah really the start of all things good? Would you agree with that though?
I think it might take some effort for me to get there, but this does remind me of the story of Adam, where Allah teaches Adam all the names, and so of course the connection being the ism, right? Yeah. And the knowing the names causes the angels to bow down to Adam, right? So that's the connection I'm making to Bismillah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can continue for me.
Oh no, I was
really.
What I'm asking is, so we just read Bismillah is the start of all things good. We too shall start with it. I think even more interesting in the original, it's we shall start towards Bismillah. Or similar, like Bismillah is something that we walk towards, that we aim to reach or aim to begin with. It's like almost a path of itself that you take steps on. And it said it's the start of all things good. And I'm thinking, why should Bismillah be the start of all things good? Is it because I say Bismillah and whatever I do after now is good? Or is it because when I drink water, if I don't say Bismillah, then it becomes wasted? But when I say Bismillah, maybe the crystals are changing? Or like, what is it that makes something good because I say Bismillah? Otherwise, I just want to go on to the next sentence and be like, oh, you're just making nice words, man. Yeah.
Oh, please.
Atik first.
Well, I would ask if you're not doing it in the name of Allah, if you're not performing something or whatever, drinking a glass of water with the name of Allah, then whose name would you do it under? And would it make sense to do it under that name, right? In the name of science, I'm gonna, drink some water and get hydrated. I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? The doctors will all tell you, drink 8 cups of water a day and you'll be healthy and this and that.
And you drink water in the name of these doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So is that better, worse than the name of Allah? What is that name? What is the difference between those things?
Well, can I just drink water and just drink water to fulfill? I have a thirst, right?
So then you drink water in the name of water or in the name of your thirst.
Yeah, in the name of my thirst, and it fulfills me, quenches me. If I said Bismillah and then drink it, is it going to quench my thirst even better?
Maybe it will become, the cooler, and if you prefer cool water.
Will it be cooler? Will it make me more happy?
I mean, whatever you prefer for the water, right?
Does anyone prefer warm water?
So the translation is good. The original is higher, right? The Bismillah is the start of every higher. You can translate it in a good, but so if we think it in contradistinction of shar, the higher and shar, hayran sharran, this way. So I guess, going back to your question, when I drink water, if I say Bismillah, does it become even more tasty? So I guess then the question is where we are looking for higher, where we are looking for the goodness to emerge. And I guess what author is saying here, whatever you do, if you do it in the name of Allah, Bismillah, in the name of Creator, however you know Allah, because Allah is like a proper name, right? It's like Abdurrahman or Aishanur, like a Zerrin. Allah is a proper name. So it doesn't mean anything. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there are discussions about its etymology, the root, and so on and so forth, but everybody agrees that it's a proper name. So when you take it that way, it doesn't mean anything. It's when I say Zerrin, for instance, it doesn't mean anything. And I'm not talking about the meaning of the word. Only when I describe Zerrin, it starts meaning something. When I say, oh, Zerrin, she's the most, the hardworking student in the class. Or the tallest person. Or the one who, painted this artwork. Now it becomes meaningful. So when you read it in the name of Allah, to the extent you know something about Allah, author says, the goodness will emerge through this attribution. So for instance, if you know Allah as sustainer, and when you drink your water in the name of Allah, who is the sustainer for you, you're drinking a sustenance now. It's not a water anymore. You say Bismillah and water becomes sustenance because it reminds you the sustainer. Now you are drinking sustenance. It's more than water because it is given to you. The sustenance has all these different, the meanings together. It says such a connotation. It is given to you. It is given to you out of mercy. It is given to you because you are loved. It is given to you because you need it and somebody wants to sustain your need. All comes as a package. Water, previously it was the material that quenches your thirst became the gateway of mercy, love, sustenance, need, all this stuff. You see, it became more. And every meaning, each of these meanings are good for you. It's higher. It will make your life easier, more plausible, enjoyable. Somebody loves me. Oh, yeah, I'm the loved one. Somebody is sustaining my needs. Oh, I feel so comfortable now. When I need something, I know that there's someone behind me, right? So it becomes so good for you, just the water.
Yeah. So like when the first sip I took of this, let's say I just took it without thinking, which I did. But then the second sip I took of it thinking, Bismillah. Or even before I get to Bismillah, I think of, okay, there's this friend I have who every week brings tea. He cares, he prepares it, he puts his time into it, and it comes out to be some nice, tasty, nice smelling tea. And that puts much more enjoyment into it. It has much more qualities to me than rather than just being, if I bought this outside, it probably wouldn't be as meaningful to me or as personal. But then when I say Bismillah, which is going even further, I say, okay, the one who's sustaining me has given me this tea. It's giving me something to quench my thirst, to quench the needs that I have, taking care of me. And then the meanings even get further and further, and probably you can even keep going on for a long time if you keep thinking about how beautiful this is right in front of me and how it's serving me. This liquid is serving me.
The example you gave was a great one, actually. Like when you read it in the name of Atik, and the first thing we do is read it like a drink the tea in the name of Atik who serves us. So when you drink, you actually say Bismi Atik and then drink it, right? Even if you don't articulate it, maybe, but this is how your conscience, like where your conscience is. Bismi Atik. And then this tea becomes more than just a tea. You say, oh, Atik, loves us. He wants to show his love through bringing tea every week. Such a, thoughtful friend. And then you say, oh, he's also a good cook, at least when it comes to tea, right? He prepares this great tea, alhamdulillah. He seems to be, a rich person as well, like the tea cups. They are not just paper like the ones that we serve, but
I'm saving more. So that
he uses this metal, the cups and so on. So all these things comes when you say simply Bismi. If you read it, for instance, Bismi, let's say, Bushra, okay? You say Bismi Bushra and then stop. Oh, she might have put something, that I shouldn't drink. So the tea became a source of, let's say, misery for you. Depending on whose name you are reading it, the qualities will change. Sometimes they will become higher. Sometimes they will become shar, the badness.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you drink the tea in the name of just tea, in the name of luck, oh, look at me, I just sat there and I found the tea in front of me, how lucky I am. I've been lucky for this week. When you drink it in the name of Bismillah, then the qualities that comes with it is just what happens next week. How am I going to, guarantee another cup of tea next week? Should I sit in the same spot Should I come to the discussion at the very same time? So you would start strategizing, trying to come up with some strategies. And this is what we always do, especially in workplaces, in academia, in the classrooms, everywhere. We try to come up with some strategies because we think, because we read the things in the name of all these different factors. Bismi my boss, bismi my wife, bismi the chair that I sit. And then you have to, balance all of them together. An author says if you read in the name of Allah, then it will be source of higher for you and nothing else.
Yeah. So I guess we can continue. And if anyone has a comment, question, anything they'd like to say, a joke, in this moderation under me, we're allowed to make jokes.
Wow.
Such a terrible idea.
I think something that comes to my mind, sisters and brothers, is that whenever we are remembering Allah Ta'ala by His beautiful names and Bismillah, Bismil itself, just Bismil. If we look at the psychology of language and the root words or alphabets of Ba, Sin, Mim, and Lam, we all know about Lohe Qurani and the 9 alphabets in Quran, and we find in Bismil there are present. Sometimes it seems that we are invoking Allah by having the spiritual intention that I am beginning this nourishing task of drinking water or eating food with your name, because you are the provider and you are the sustainer of this risk. And I think in that sense, whether even when a newborn baby is given the first time their first taste of some food, milk or honey or a piece of date or very, very like tiny little like mashed, just to get some sweetness and nourishment in their mouth. And a parent or a grandparent starts out saying, Bismillah. All the power that a human being with their language ability can muster up to kind of almost, like we say, that enveloping the child in the protection of Allah. And also, I think at that level of loyalty, being an abd, a submitter, that I'm not going to be disloyal to you. I eat the food that you give me, not because I'm your slave, like, you're not cruel, but because you are my caretaker. You look after me. And so we see that happening for parents towards their children, husband towards his wife, brothers and sisters towards each other, and so on and so forth, humanity ideally doing it to each other. I think one thing that comes to mind regarding Imam Nursidi's prologue, that, oh brother, listen. And so the idea is that the ayat or the verses that he refers to and the flashes and the words and the doors that he opens and shows, they have a deeper understanding in his mind. And so because we are the readers of his blessed writing, exalting Allah Ta'ala, magnifying and bringing a scope to his speech through Nursidi's own interpretations, this Bismillah paragraph here, that in the name of God, is sufficient for us. Like, that's all I need to know that my water is good. That if I am saying this prior to drinking, that it's holy, that it's pure, that it is wholesome, and it's by Allah. So the fact that I'm even deciding to drink, it's a risk, you know. and and so in comparison, if there is this, the second paragraph, this is someone who makes a journey through the deserts of Arabia has to travel in the name of a tribal chief and enter under his protection, for in this way he may be saved from the assaults of bandits and secure his needs. But that's very human, because we don't see Allah physically as a person, as an entity. I think that's the level of uh, reach that a human soul has through his speech, through Allah's speech. That's how I see it. That if I cannot see you physically in front of me, and I know you are present everywhere and listening to me and hearing me and seeing me, here is my testament. I start everything that I do with your name. And it keeps me and my soul in check, that my nafs is not going to fall prey to shaitan. I'm not going to be ungrateful or disgraceful towards you, because you provide me and I take it for granted. And also that I'm, in my mind, as a teacher or as a therapist, that I'm role modeling and practicing for others, that this is how you handle risk. This is how you receive it with the name of Allah. This is how you end taking sustenance, because you have had your fill, by saying Alhamdulillah. And so whether you look at it, it's almost like Allah Ta'ala's name is the seal from beginning to end in one form or another. I hope I've made sense. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. I think that made sense, and it was a beautiful conclusion in seeing God's name from the beginning to the end. And as you were talking, it also, I went back to the first sentence of Bismillah, in the name of God is the start of all things good. And I was thinking of Brother Birkan was also saying, I think the emphasis on this could also be understood to be like, when I begin looking at things and not in its own name, but rather in the name of something else, I start on a different path. I'm moving towards something else. Like I could always look at my mom as just, for example, like a mother, as just something made out of tissue, a biological creature. But once if I look at her in the name of like being a mother, I then say, oh, she's merciful to me, she's loving to me. And I start seeing further things, further qualities there, that I love those qualities. I very much enjoy them. They give me peace, they give me joy. And then when I start looking at something in the name of its creator, in the name of the one who made it, in the name of the one who knows me, and then I start seeing other qualities. It's not even like I'm making them up. It's not that I'm loading it onto. It's just now I start opening my eyes to see other qualities there. And in fact, these are the qualities that I also need to see. Just as I need mercy from my mother, now when I drink water or when I do something else, I also need meaning to be there. I need a sustainer to be there. I need to not be alone. So like all these other qualities, as I keep saying Bismillah, so I guess it's like kind of almost a journey. Bismillah itself is a journey. And we're going to talk about how these two people are going on a journey. But when I say Bismillah, I'm also going on this journey. I'm seeking these names. I'm seeing them. And everything just becomes much more beautiful to me. It's not like the understanding of, just to clear for myself, I don't just say Bismillah and drink my water. As I'm drinking my water, I also say Alhamdulillah. As Sister Sari was saying, like I say Alhamdulillah, at the end I say Subhanallah, or the other words. Like as I'm in the process of it, I'm also saying other names. It's not one name and stopping. Inshallah. So inshallah, we can continue on. So Bismillah, in the name of God, is the start of all things good. We too shall start with it. Know, O my soul, just as this blessed phrase is a mark of Islam, so too it is constantly recited by all beings through their tongues of disposition. If you want to know what an inexhaustible strength, what an unending source of bounty is Bismillah, listen to the following story, which is in the form of a comparison. So here he says, just as this blessed phrase is a mark of Islam, and I think we can stop there to understand what Nursi is saying. You have a comment? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking a little further on the example of drinking water. Like along with what everyone else has said, when I drink that water with the recognition that the one who is quenching my thirst right now, this very real, very serious need, right, that I have, that under quote unquote normal conditions, if it wasn't quenched for 3 days or so, I would die, I would perish, right? But that in this moment, when I immediately need it, it is being met. When I recognize that the one who's meeting that is my creator, who's given me this need, and who has also given me every other need that I have, including like very sort of non-physical needs, like needs of my human spirit, right? Needs that look to eternity, needs that look beyond just that moment of drinking water, but drinking water tomorrow and the next day, and also being able to spend time with my loved ones, being able to do things that I enjoy, developing my capacities, right? All these things that look to a kind of non-transience, that the fulfillment of those very human needs I find within my spirit must also be met by this creator, then saying Bismillah or drinking that water in a state of Bismillah doesn't just quench my thirst. It gives all of my human needs and feelings this point of support and security. Like I become sort of relieved of all other burdens that I carry, that I think I must meet. So it just comes to show like the interconnectedness of all my human needs, and also how when I recognize that the one who is meeting this need can meet all other needs, and I guess we'll talk about it, like Bismillah becomes a kind of inexhaustible strength, an inexhaustible point of support, anchor of security in my life.
Thank you. So I do want to touch on this, or maybe ask a question, Evan. This blessed phrase is a mark of Islam. I think there's many ways we can understand this, but it's a mark of Islam. I mean, Islam, we could take it as a religion. We could take it as submission also. Maybe we can even go into peace, from salam, and all these other things. But it's a mark of Islam. And a Muslim, it's, I guess, like, what would you understand from that? Maybe I'll ask the question to the floor.
I can just say preliminary thoughts, but if anyone else wants to say something.
Were you going to say something?
Okay, all right. It made me think of so there was this recent Marvel TV show about the life of a Muslim girl. And throughout the show, they constantly try to put marks of Islam or marks of being Muslim, right? To show that, hey, this is a character that is about a certain demographic, in this instance, Muslims, right? And in one scene, this character is going to take her driver's test, and she sits, and right before the instructor comes into the car, she says, Bismillah. And then she proceeds to rear end the car behind her. But there, it's becoming a kind of, one might say, it's a mark of Islam. But I'm also thinking, given how we discussed the first two sentences or so, how it can be a signifier of a kind of worldview, right? Of a kind of path, of a kind of approach that when someone, when even if like just for myself, but also if I hear you say Bismillah, right, before you do something, this is someone who is on the same path that I am, who is acknowledging the same creator that I am. There's that element of it, right? And then even contained within myself, it becomes a signifier of who I am trying to be, how I am trying to live my life, who I'm trying to acknowledge in my life as well. So those are just preliminary thoughts.
Like you were going to say something, Ati. Yeah. So too, it is constantly recited by all beings through their tongues of disposition. I think last week this was also something we briefly talked about, was tongues of disposition. Nursi is making a. Is something else? Nursi is making a. It's interesting because this is the first word we've kind of jumped right into it, and he's saying everything around you is constantly saying Bismillah through their tongues of disposition, through the way they behave or look, or through their body language. They're all saying Bismillah. And it's seemingly a very strong claim, a very big claim. How should I understand this claim? Like, can I observe this? Can I look at, let's not use water anymore, but can I look at, for example, Bishra and see that she's saying Bismillah constantly through her tongue of disposition? When you look at your daughter, do you see that she's constantly saying Bismillah through her tongue of disposition?
I think it's not the right moment. I just took her to the bathroom, so maybe another example.
Well, it's
after 10 minutes.
it says constantly, so it should be in every.
I mean, even with $200.
Oh.
Like even with that, like taking her to the restroom. I mean, the fact that like, you know, like she's a kid and she knew like her body, like how to say, like her body doesn't know when it has to, you know, like discharge by itself and do this kind of detoxifying process, right? Like, so because we said by like the tongue of disposition, so it tells you that there's something else that governing or sustaining this body that makes it, you know and feel that it has to go to the bathroom at this moment and get rid of all this stuff. Like, I mean, even with that, I would say like, this is also, you could say like, with this thing, the fact that this like kid doesn't know, but knows what to do, like in this situation. Yeah, exactly. Because this is something like so necessary for her to, you know, to survive. Like everyone has to do that. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That even bathrooms.
Also, just one example regarding the part that I catch when Sister Ashena was talking. You know, this the idea of we can survive only 3 days when we don't drink water. It's just something, you know, maybe in general it has some truth in it, but when you follow the news about the earthquake, you know, they're talking about the people being alive after 5 days, 6 days, 10 days, right? I mean, you can try to find excuses, but probably they had some water somewhere. They found like after 5, 6 days, I don't remember the exact timing, babies still alive. Mm-hmm. So I guess it shows very clearly that when it comes to life and death, it is only He who decides. When He says you will die now, you die now. When He says no, you will not die. Even fire, we will read, right, in the following paragraphs. Even if they throw you in the fire, if He doesn't want you to die, He would just say, fire, be coolness. And He will leave. So even out of this destruction, but only when you read it in the name of God, the life giver, only when you read it in the name of God, the death giver, then you see this goodness. Otherwise, it becomes a mere luck again. Oh, this boy was very lucky. So there is no mercy, nothing to celebrate, nothing to relate, and nothing to, get comfort. But when you read it in the name of the death giver, you say, He gives death. He will give my death as well. And my death is in secure hands. Because I don't trust luck when it comes to my life and my death. I don't trust Atik, but Him I do trust. I trust that He will give my death in the right moment, when I need it, when I most need it. And I will definitely need death as well. It becomes apparent only, again, when I start reading the earthquake in the name of death giver. Otherwise, it's just movement of some tectonic, the plates. And there's no higher in it. There's no goodness there. It's pure destruction and unluck.
I think exactly what you're saying. Nursi says, if you want to know what an inexhaustible strength, what an unending source of bounty, when I attribute tectonic plates to luck or randomness, or let's say randomness over billions of years, this happened, and it could happen in one more year, it could happen in 100 more years. But when I say it is luck or something that doesn't know me, all I feel is fear. All I fear is uneasiness, anxiousness, meaninglessness, probably the most important one. So many people just died for no reason, like no reason. And that's the one that hurts me probably the most, just meaningless when I see that. But when I can look at it with death giver, life giver, creator, source of existence, I get that meaning because now there's a purpose. And I see, I don't see randomness anymore. I see intentionality, purpose. I see someone who is taking care of some of them who were not supposed to die yet, and some of them who did die. They were given death. And others who are alive, they're given other qualities as they look at this. They feel other things. They're being taught other things. So much more meaning that comes and saves me from that hell of meaninglessness. Through Bismillah, I'm able to find that. So we can go into the first, into the journey of the two people then. I guess I should read it because there's probably key points. So someone who makes a journey through the deserts of Arabia has to travel in the name of a tribal chief and enter under his protection. For in this way, he may be saved from the assaults of bandits and secure his needs. On his own, he will perish in the face of innumerable enemies and needs. So this is, he first explains the desert. And later on, he's going to say this desert is the world you're in right now. So I guess, do I feel like I am in the desert of Arabia? Do I feel like I will perish if I don't have the name of a tribal chief? That I will be assaulted by bandits? And I have innumerable enemies around me. This is a question. I think I talk too much as a moderator. I should stop.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
Atik. Can you give the mic to Atik?
My, I would say I don't feel like I'm in, you know, a
You're in Philadelphia.
desert. I feel like, yeah, there's apparently there's food deserts and sorts of, you know, neighborhoods without access to.
Desert would be cleaner
grow-
than Philadelphia, right?
I mean, sure. If you ignore all the dust and, you know, debris, I don't know. I feel pretty well taken care of. But I guess the question is, who do I attribute that to? Do I attribute that to the mayor of Philadelphia, who's you know, managing the city in a great way, you know, or he's keeping crime down and, I don't know, cleaning the streets and fixing the potholes, or is it something else? But, you know, I feel like I don't feel like I'm in a desert, that's for sure. There's a lot of, you know, there's running water, there's a lot of good things about, you know, living in this city.
But when you take it a little bit more metaphorically, maybe.
Sure.
No, keep the microphone. So I guess within the context of this example, so the question is more like, do you, from time to time, feel the harshness of the weather? And whether, again, you can take it literally or metaphorically,
Right.
like, do you have this sense of harshness in your life? Because desert comes with the harsh weather conditions, right? It is either too hot or too cold. Do you feel this harshness? Do you feel the difficulties?
Yeah.
You always find yourself moving from one place to another place. And is this journey usually, you know, the easy one or not? When you look at the surface value,
Right.
do you see, you know, he talks about the enemies, bandits. Do you see this similar stuff here? For instance, when you walk on the street, there's always a chance that somebody will come and rob you.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
I mean, it could be also yourself.
Yeah.
Yourself, your thoughts, your next.
Mm.
This could also be what bandit.
Yeah.
But I guess, at least to me, my life in West Philly,
Oh,
maybe not for you,
maybe not.
but my life in West Philly, I would say, yeah, that I can see the resemblance.
In this neighborhood?
Would you like to talk about how you're in the desert or not?
Okay, I guess I should. Well, where I'm from in New Jersey, where the taxes are high and the streets are clean, physically, oftentimes I feel very secure. Certain towns give off that aura, right? There's the police and everything, but I mean, I guess in terms of how I experience events in my life, situations in my life, right? Whether that's as a student, as a daughter, as a wife or sister, all these sorts of relations that I'm in, there's this need to kind of seek support from something, right? If you're a student, I mean, this might be easier in the sense of like, oh, I'm affiliated with this institution. And so that gives you a sense of credibility, right? If you're going to present at a conference or something, which institution are you affiliated with? I'm affiliated with this. And that gives you support in one respect, in one aspect of your life, or, that may be just your company or something like that. But when it comes to aspects of my life that I try to make sense of, right, that I might encounter problems in, and that might be with myself again, or with certain relations, or just something that I might be going through, oftentimes I travel that desert in my own name. Like, I have to accomplish this. I have to figure out how to get this person to understand me, or how to resolve this situation, this family situation, or whatever, X, Y, and Z. You fill it in. I do that in my own name. And so I feel the harshness of the desert because I have such limited resources by myself. And it becomes this immense burden where there's a very real threat that I might just perish in that desert, right? And as Sarah was saying, like, those bandits are I see that within myself. And yeah, I mean, that's sort of that's a sort of descriptive approach to the situation, and then how we go from there to needing a tribal chief and seeking that protection. Maybe that connection can be talked about further by others.
I guess to add on to it, Aishanur just said, thinking about my life as a desert, I feel like if you find yourself in a desert, the first thing you need is to find like a source of sustenance somewhere and to like get out of the desert. So I think I feel like, life is kind of like that. We need to find a way to sustain ourselves. Otherwise there's like no way out of the desert. We're just stuck in this place. And so I feel like kind of it's like this constant search for an oasis in the middle of this desert. And the things that we think are the oasis just end up being mirages. And so I guess that's kind of how I see sort of when we do something in the name of something other than the creator, it just ends up being a mirage and not a real oasis, like in this desert that is our life.
Are you listening? How they take it metaphorically and perfectly life?
Just wanted to add something. I think, Zoil, you have written here, time is a bandit. Walaikum assalam. I think that kind of resonates with me also because of the fact that time is fleeting. And as
Could I just repeat what Suhail said? So since others can't see it, Suhail, so Suhail wrote a comment saying, "Time is the biggest bandit. It's robbing me of my life every moment." And then Sister Syra is making her comment. Go ahead.
Jazakallah khair. I was saying that time definitely has that dimensional quality of being elusive, right? So we see, I just saw Dr. Haifa Yunus's clip on Instagram where she said that, subhanallah, 2.5 or a week ago or so, and there were people sleeping and resting, and in the middle of the night an earthquake took place. In another group with Dr. Yamina Buganaya, she's also Turkish, and she actually covers Imam Nursi's writings as well. And she said, but Syra, you need to realize that in your mental framework of human life and existence, time is different than how it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we are a non-Muslim might say we are trapped in a um, simulation. I think Elon Musk said that, or somebody said that, atheist person. What does it mean? But when you look at Quran, at our ages, in our upper 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s onwards, we have that idrak, that cognition. The time is running out, that life is short, that there are stages and ages, that we accomplish certain things at each stage or not, that resources and human connection and bonding is necessary, or some of us learn to live alone, or we are lost in our work, or we are lost in our parenthood, or We are lost in caring for somebody who is ill in our family and loved ones, or we are lost in a relationship, or we are unhealthy in a relationship, right? With food, with health, with human beings, um, with the earth, how we mistreat animals or plants. So, as a person who is deeply contemplative of Quran, as a Muslima or Muslim, uh, Alhamdulillah, in our group here, we hope that we constantly reach that level and stay at that level and even excel it. But normal, average human understanding of day-to-day time is limited and very miserably limited to my work hours, my sleep hours, my exercise hours, my hours to be home, my hours to be traveling, my hours this and that. It's not related to the other dimension of timelessness, I guess, because we find many people are not spiritually connected like that, and even we struggle. And part of that struggle has to do with learning that this lifetime is finite, and one day the very bodies in which we are, we will leave them. Um, so I've been rehearsing that okay, Allah, the moment when you call me, may I be able to submissively exit out of this body. I will definitely do that with your will, and there is no resisting it. But may it be in your will, my will be there too. So, what does it look like to dispatch yourself from timeness to timelessness? And we see that in this comment that Sahil has written here, that we are in a situation where if we look at anything, like it's robbing us very stealthily. Complete your studies by this time, get married by this time, take care of your parents, return to home at this time, don't be out late this time. There is bandit within a bandit with time, because with time are associated people, places, and things. And so for a drug addict person, substance using person, sorry, it would be um, their time is running out because they are burning the candle at both ends, not only their health internally but also spiritually. They're not able to see that that is not a healthy coping mechanism, because their body by that time has become biochemically dependent on alcohol. And so their spiritual losses are perhaps multifold in that regard, and how to help a person from that sense of time. One of these times, either you're going to end up in the hospital or in an accident or in the cemetery. And this is the moment when you can say to God, you gave me the gift of life, and perhaps you can live it in a healthier way. But you have to have that cognition that regardless of whether I change my lifestyle or not, time is running out. Time is fleeting. It is not sincere to me because it is not permitted to be like that. That's why Surah Asr, that, by time, humankind is in the loss. And I think that's why Allah Ta'ala says so many times in Quran that day and night, day to go out and get your rizq or travel, and night to rest, day for sight and night for dark. Why? Because he's teaching us to be discerning. Oftentimes now, I think perhaps Allah Ta'ala expects us, while being humans, attain the stature of angels, like in Abudia, in our God mindfulness. Because when we compare how Allah Ta'ala almost always, other than Iblis, talks about angels in Quran, he is mentioning their obedience and subservience, and exalts their status in as one of his creatures, because they are very loyally dedicated to Allah. And wherever he is mentioning us, he is telling us in some ayats that you have the potential to rise. You are capable of being very loyal and supporter and sacrificial for Allah Ta'ala. And at the same time, you're impatient, you're weak, you're ungrateful, and you can be the lowest of the lowliest, lowest of the lowest, rather. And so, what does it mean? If in my 30, 40, 50, 60, so on lifetime, I don't get this, like literally get this lesson, whose loss is it really? Satan is not going to come for help. Family members are not going to come for help. My presentation in front of Allah Ta'ala will be for my own accountability by myself. This very body, this very person that I am, I'm not mine. The soul isn't mine. Nothing is mine. And hence, none of the claims that we make upon each other are valid. Whether it is for sustenance or for help from another human being, or jinn, or angel, or even Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, our accountabilities are our own. Our kaburs are our own. Our akhira is our own. And so in that regard, it's all about that, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, you are time. Allah Ta'ala says that I am time, and the times are by me. And one of my friends told me when I used to cry a lot for my husband and I got cancer, and I said, okay, that's it. No more studies, no more work, nothing to look forward to. My family and friends would say that you are yourself a mental health therapist. Why are you thinking like this at this age? And I said, well, I don't see anything in front of me. And they said, no, you got your parents, you got Allah, you got to work on yourself. Allah is not done with you yet. Maybe this is your way to come back to Jannah. Maybe you were too worldly. Time robs us. And so I have learned, and not that I have the answers, but befriend time. And the best formula for that is, and I'm still struggling with it sometimes if a prayer does not get said by me in time, that revolve your existence around the prayer times. And if you're not getting it, then add more prayers to your lifetime. Because prayers really can be that pivot and that anchor that can keep me away from anything and everything that is not liked by Allah or is a waste of time or a waste of my time in terms of mental space, spiritual space, and the things that the possibilities that I could otherwise achieve are not going to be possible because I am too relaxed about or uncaring about the fact that time is running out. Sorry about the long comment, but that's what I'd like to say here. Thanks.
Jazakallah khair. I think there were a lot of reflections in there. Yeah. Inshallah, we can, as Brother Suhail also wrote, time is the biggest bandit. The sister also went over it. Yeah, I think there are many bandits coming back to the desert that we could see. Definitely within myself, definitely in my mind, outside, everything. I would say everything, without this view of Bismillah, everything actually becomes a bandit, an enemy, something that wants to take from me. Or I need to protect myself. If I'm living in my own name in this desert, I need to protect myself. And I run to mirages, I run to oases. I'm like, oh, do this and then you'll be fine. Do this and then after this, you're going to be fine. Just graduate, get a job, do this. And then finally, you'll be fine. And then it never happens. But then that's also what society tells you, your family tells you. And then so there's enemies, endless amount of enemies. And then all of it, you're just like running from one place to another and not feeling too happy. So I think it's a very apt description by Nursi, saying that this world could represent the desert. With a certain world view, it could definitely represent the desert.
I was gonna say there was a hand.
Oh, okay.
Brother Rikam, please go ahead.
the way he talks in this, the paragraph, it says, if you are traveling in the desert, you need to take a name, right? So this sounds very outdated. And in our age, in our time, it's just opposite. We think, we should live in our names. I decide my destiny. I decide my fate. I decide, what happens next. I decide what I'm going to become. I'm free of my ancestors. I'm free of my society. I'm free of my culture. I am what I am. So this is the norm of the, the current, let's say, time. This is the gist of the time. There's a word for that. It's from German, maybe. Anyway, Zeitgeist, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, this is just opposite of what text says. Text says, you should take the name, and we say, no, I'm not going to take any name. And this belief is also marketed as freedom. You believers, you just, are slaves to what you believe. This is made up, the Lord of yours, and I'm free of everything. And as the Sister Aisha mentioned, that we make things in the name of ourselves, in the name of me. I guess this theatrical act, that I can do everything in my own name, lasts only a few minutes. Because after a few minutes, you realize you actually need a lot of help for your life, right? The next moment, you have to read the things in the name of your boss, in the name of your supervisor, in the name of your wife, in the name of your husband, in the name of your father, mother, child, and then in the name of the vegetables that you have to eat, in the name of the meat that you have to consume. Everything, becomes the possible lords of yours. So when Imam Nursi says, you have to take a name of the chief, it's not only, this example is not only specific to these deserts of Arabia. This is our lives. Like, if there's anyone who can claim, no, I don't take, any name of anyone or anything, she will be probably the foolish person. You have to take the name of the food that you have to consume, the air you have to breathe, and so on and so forth.
Because you're now dependent on them, so you have to take their names. That's like
exactly. You are dependent on them. You're dependent on them. You have to rely on them, right?
So you're not just free.
Exactly. You are not free. The poverty defines you. Hence, the example of desert. The poverty defines you. This is what you are. The powerlessness defines you. This is what you are. This is your reality. You have to satisfy the needs of, endless, countless people every day. You have to follow certain norms. You have to, make people smile, or you have to smile yourself so that the others will smile to you as well. Especially if you are a lady, it's your social, responsibility that you have to smile. Otherwise, people will call you names. So you are not free. What order offers here and what the phrase Bismillah offers you, the freedom, the actual freedom, real freedom. Somebody else comes and tells you that you are dependent on all these things, and you say, no, I'm only dependent on the one who loves me with infinite love. This is the freedom. And I don't want to be free of such a dependence, actually. That's something that I can rely no matter what happens. Even during a destruction moment, even during an earthquake, I can rely on him. The one who creates the earthquake, I rely on him. If you want me to rely on the water, the luck, the strength, my muscles, my brain, and so on and so forth, I'm doomed, I'm sorry. I don't know about you, maybe you have bigger muscles than myself, maybe she has a bigger brain than myself, but to me, at least, is just ultimate poverty. So taking the name of chief in this example makes you free. This is the freedom, this is the real freedom that a human being can attain. The rest, again, is just a theatrical act to sell you more products.
It reminded me, like, there's a lot of terms that we personify, like father time, mother nature, and then I don't know other ones, but there's probably like randomness, all these things that, oh yeah, father time will take you. You can't do anything. So you're dependent. You're dependent on this whatever time, this thing that doesn't care about you, or mother nature doesn't care about you. All these other things that you live in this worldview where you're dependent on all of them, and you actually live according to their names. You're giving them authority over yourself, but they don't care about you. And you can't escape it. Like, no matter what, you're going to be giving something authority over your life. It could even be your own, like your own stomach could be controlling you. If you have like an eating disorder or something, I know like people, I mean, this just randomly came up, but like people, they eat food and they're crying as they eat food or something. You know, like something as close to you as your stomach could cause you so much torture because it has authority over you, because you eat in its name or you eat in something else. Like so much in this world that you become a slave to. A true slave to. Yeah. What time did we start? Or what time do we end?
7:15 we start, so 8:30-ish.
8:30-ish we should end?
Yeah.
Okay, it's almost 8:30, so maybe let's start the journey and then end our journey.
Ish.
Ish. Okay, ish. Yeah. And so two men went on such a journey and entered the desert. One of them was modest and humble, the other proud and conceited. The humble man assumed the name of a tribal chief, while the proud man did not. The first traveled safely wherever he went. And I won't continue on with that, but as a final comment, I think we could probably also associate or kind of wrap up with talking about modesty and humbleness versus being proud and conceited. How these are relevant to Bismillah. Obviously, the man who took the name of a tribal chief acted in the name of some chief, seems to be modest and humble. But then you have another one that's proud and conceited who didn't take the name. So where's, I'm not the one to answer this, but where is Bismillah in the one that's modest and humble? But then when you're proud and conceited, you don't say Bismillah. I think we've touched on this and like why it would make sense that these qualities or traits follow that person. I think Atik, I saw you shake your leg. That's all I can see of you. So you wanted to speak?
You want to say something?
Well, I can attempt. I mean, sure, you can speak to my leg here. I can attempt. I mean, I guess it makes sense why the humble man would take the name of a chief. I mean, he's not right. He's aware of his own deficiencies and that he cannot sustain himself on this journey through the desert. That's understandable. And I guess that in the same way, why the arrogant man would choose to not take a name, right? He wants to, exert himself on his surroundings and, and I think in modern, in our modern understanding, we would respect that, right? This guy is, relying on himself. He's not relying on other people to fulfill his needs, or, he's showing, I don't know, independence or something like that. So why is it that we are sort of flipping the script here? I mean, is it on the basis of the tribal chief, right? This is someone who deserves to be relied upon, or, what is that?
Very good question. I feel like Brother Yusuf was here. He would have a perfect example. But Brother Ikan, do you have a perfect example?
So when Yusuf was here, you would have perfect example.
You might have a second perfect.
Any example? I do have an example.
Okay.
No. It's like while listening to Atik, I was. So yeah, we take it as independent people deserving the respect, right? So how would you think, for instance, if I don't know, like you need to do something dangerous, and like you are, let's say, traveling with e-scooters, electrical scooters, right? And then you're not putting in helmet, let's say, and it goes very fast. I mean, stupid people, I apologize, no offense. Stupid people would take it as independence and strength, right? Would say, oh, look at him or her, such a courageous person, not relying on the helmet, and maybe respect. But to be honest, I would take it as silly person. Right? And the one who takes uses the helmet, he deserves to be respected. So when it comes to reliance to human to human, when it comes to human relationship, if it is on the same level, there is no point to rely on someone else. Like, let's say you are bankrupted person, I'm the bankrupted person. If you rely on me, you are silly. If you don't rely on me, you deserve respect. But in the example, if you are not relying on the helmet, although you need it, your poverty requires it, because your skull is not that powerful, not that strong. Taking the helmet's name, what deserves to be respected. Again, I guess like a human-to-human relationship, it's hard to conceptualize. But when it comes to you, your needs, your reality, and the way I take the humbleness, I don't know, I don't remember the original word there, but It's more like honest person, honest to himself. This is what humbleness is. Otherwise, like if you are not doing it out of honesty, you're just acting. Like you say, oh, Birkan, how good looking you are. And I know that I'm good looking. I'm just saying, oh, that's not me, This is not humility. But when you say, oh, Birkan, how powerful you are, and say, what power? I'm so weak. Like even my child can hurt me with her slap. This is humility. Now I'm honest to myself. And on the other side, I guess, when he talks about, he says pride, or what is the word?
Proud and conceited.
Yeah, proud and conceited. So we should took them together. Like when we say proud, it sounds something positive, right? I'm proud of my ancestors. I'm proud of my, the skin color. Right? I'm proud of my whatever. It has this positive connotations, especially today. But I think we should take it together, proud and conceited, meaning arrogant. Yeah. Just like, in the Adam alayhi salam story, the Iblis was arrogant because he was not honest to himself. I mean, in this story. And because he was not seeing the full picture, and because he was just, thinking that he was better just because he was better. No basis, nothing. So this is proud and conceited. He thinks, he doesn't need to take the name of the chief or name of the helmet because he's just simply silly. And based on this silliness, he's arrogant. There's nothing positive about that, even within our society.
So I guess we're running out of time, but something I saw recently, which I think is relevant and it's very prevalent in today's age, in like almost every self-help book, so someone sent me like a self-help message. Self-help message. And there it's like, don't forget that you're amazing. You deserve you deserve to love your body. You don't need anyone else. You can do everything. Like you can slow down. I mean, this is what self-help idea is for some reason you should be happy because you're amazing, or this and that, or like you don't need anyone. You're independent. You're strong. You can take care of yourself. You can sustain yourself. You can be happy with yourself. You're enough. You don't need anything else. Like it's feeding you these phrases where technically you could be said, I'm proud and conceited. I don't need anyone. I'm arrogant. I don't need my creator. I don't need anyone else. I can take care of myself. I can be happy just by myself. I don't need anyone. And when I read the messages, I think that maybe it gives them some little pleasure for the moment, or it gives them some peace because they're like, oh, I don't need anyone else. They find maybe something. But for me, instantly, I'm like, no, I know I'm not this. Like I see very clearly, like I've lived earthquakes in my own life. Every day we live our own earthquakes, maybe mini earthquakes, dealing with many problems that destroy us. Like I can't just be happy by myself. I can't take care of my own happiness. I can't sustain myself. So I don't want to be the proud and conceited person in this desert. And I feel like that's kind of what the self-help teaches. But then the other side, there's the modest and humble, where it's like, I need. But like as Brother Rikan said, I don't need from another human because she's bankrupt. I'm bankrupt. You're bankrupt. I have a problem. I come to you. You're like, I don't have anything. I go to my wife. She can't help me with my need for eternity. She can't help me with my need for one who knows everything about me and can sustain me, about my need for meaning. If I come to her and say, oh, I'm going to die in 60 years, we existed for no reason. If I come to her in her name, she can't do anything. So that's why modest and humble. And I don't need from another human. I need from my creator. And let's conclude, inshallah, with your
like the self-help, the personal development thing. Like they have a partial truth in them when you take it as, again, within the creation in the same level, like human to human. Yeah, that's true. You don't need anyone else because they cannot help you. In our scooter example, for instance, if you are wearing a, let's say, blue shirt, and somebody comes and tells you that, for your safety, you should, put on a green shirt. You would say, I mean, what is the difference? I don't need it. It cannot help me, right? One shirt to another shirt. There's no difference in terms of protecting you. Only when somebody comes and offer you like a armor or something like that with pads and something that can protect you. Now you can say that, yeah, I need this over a shirt. So if you are looking, like if the alternatives are other human beings, other creatures, nothing can help you. So you alone versus you and another person, it's the same thing. You don't need them. That's true. But if you have something that is better than you, that can sustain you, that can answer your needs, that can give you happiness, if you have someone who has this power, that you can rely on them. Otherwise, yeah, from one human to another human, it is true. You don't need anyone else because they are as poor as you are. Only it makes sense to rely on the creator, the one who can create happiness in you or satisfaction in you. Otherwise, it's just blue shirt versus green shirt. Nothing different. First, he wanted to, complete, like finish with my words. Then he didn't like them. Now he's asking for others to complete the discussion.
No, I am just open and keeping the option. Okay, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan for everyone attending and contributing. And inshallah, we'll continue next week on the first word. And may we live on the path of Bismillah, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا إن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة